go back to that screen, it's probably going to give me an echo or something.
Yeah. Okay. Keep an eye on it.
Let's see here. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At least a good morning in my town in Nevada, my state in Nevada. I'm sure it's evening in London, and maybe morning or noon in Israel. Is that right, Dima?
No, it's evening. I'm like 2 hours more than London, so it's like 9 p.m.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, my guest is Dima from Israel. We all know his posts. We all know his passion. We all know his teachings when it comes to traditional bachata. Uh, Chongo, Daniel Chong, is the founder of BOSS, B-O-S, Bachata on Saturdays in London. I was honored enough to privileged enough to teach there one night, and it was a big crowd. Daniel Chong teaches fusion, bachata, amongst others, but if you see him social dance, he can dance just about everything. And of course, Pierre is a guy who studies just about everything and break. I mean, if I tell you how I walk, he's gotta break that down into million pieces and explain it to you. And it would take several months to really decipher it. So
What do you
he knows
say?
about sensual, he knows about bachata, he knows about salsa. He is a learner and he is an educator at the same time. Of course, a musician as well. Gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. I know we haven't discussed a while. I think that was a few months ago where we had 12,000 viewers. Hopefully, in this discussion, in this healthy debate that we have, really decipher it. So, see, now it's giving me a feedback. What in the world? Okay, all done. Okay, how's that, guys?
Yeah, that's better.
Cool.
Just try not to have Facebook
I'm waiting for
open.
the feedback. I'm waiting for the
Yeah,
feedback.
yeah.
All right, so let's see. I'm gonna turn off all of my Facebook, okay? And then you guys make sure that you guys are on. In that way, I don't get that echo again. Let's see here.
Cool.
Okay,
I think we're
turning
good.
it off and turning it off. Okay, I got it. Anyways, the first question, guys, is well. First of all, let me say this in my experience, and we're gonna relate it to this. When I started bachata, I was dancing what we call moderna, the traveling steps, side to side steps, uh, forward, backward, traveling step with salsa patterns, because that's my background, my ballroom background as well. That's how I learned bachata from one of my student of salsa who learned bachata from a Nicaraguan guy here in the Bay Area who was the very, very first guy to teach bachata. Now, as I started teaching, after about 3 years, I started teaching bachata because no one else was teaching bachata in the Bay Area. So I was teaching that. And then all of a sudden, Ismael Otero told me, you do know, Rodney, that you're not dancing bachata, right? And that this was at the Dallas Salsa Congress. Okay. What the hell are you talking about? Now, mind you, this is a dentist breakfast. Me, Ismael, One Tattoo. If you remember, if you don't know who One Tattoo is, he used to be at Tomas Guerrero's team, who himself is a Dominican guy. And it's like, and I said, well, why don't you dance the traditional thing? Well, first of all, I told Ismael, I don't know what that is. I don't know what traditional bachata is. Number two, when I looked at it, when people showed me, it looks boring. And then Ismael said, hey, Juan, Rodney said bachata is boring. And Juan had to look at me as like, no, it's much more that we feel it. We feel the music. It's much more to it than the move. And that stuck with me. And then of course the barbershop, Troy and Dorjet came in, where he was emphasizing there. It's like, well, you don't have to be fancy. You don't have to be all over that person. This is how Dominican bachata is danced, blah, 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 blah. So that made me curious. So I went to the Dominican Republic to what the hell are they talking about? I want to see it for myself. I want to feel it. I want to hear it. I want to see it. ever since I went there, and then I coordinated with one guy to organize a bachata festival in Santo Domingo, the very first one. It changed my life the moment I came back to the United States. When I was in the Dominican Republic, I wasn't planning to change my style. I was there and I felt as like, so this is the way they dance bachata. This is how bachata came from. This is how bachata came to be. They just dance it and that's it. They don't take any lessons or anything. Okay. Then there is that epiphany. There is that breakthrough for me. It's like, wait a minute. I can't be teaching bachata like this and labeling it as bachata where I know where it came from and it doesn't look like where it came from. That's how I changed my style. So the question is, would we accept bachata as just bachata, the way they dance it in the Dominican Republic? And can we accept, in my opinion, sensual, moderna, to just have an adjective? They can't just call it bachata, one word. First, Dima.
Well, look, the way it looks now for me, as someone who started with Central, how it was 10 years ago, it lost any track that resembles in any way. First of all, music wise, and second of all, dance wise. It's a different language. I don't see any relation of this to what bachata is. So there are some cases that obviously you can call it like that, but the major marketing that goes right now of the things that I see all over the social media, it just it's just not. I don't know. It was like the things that you danced that I saw your videos before. Yeah, you could call it okay, go side to side, you do the tap, whatever. But now you can find you can see the basic step. Like
You mean you can't
again,
trace bachata?
not anymore. And first of all, the music. Okay, first of all, the music changed. If you go now, at least where I live, okay, in Israel, which is I think resembles most of the world scene, you like I cannot dance to it anymore. I used to find songs that I really could enjoy, but now I can find myself sitting outside for like an hour until I get a song.
I guess
And
when we invite Dima in a congress, if he's missing, we know where he is.
I will be in the bar, man.
All we
It's
need to
in
do
the
is look at the DJ when he's playing.
Look,
Hold on.
we,
I'm gonna go to you. So, Dima, to answer the question, however, my original question was,
Mhm.
can we get away with putting adjectives if it's not real, if it's not 100% bachata?
I think we should stop trying to connect things that already are not related to that. Like there's like this effort to try to find some way to relate something that's already bigger than the bachata scene, something that is already has its own audience, its own festivals, and it's very succeeding without this connection to something that is this underdog, underground thing, you know. So why should we keep that name?
All right, Chongo, what is your take in this? Because you're sort of like in the middle because you dance all styles and you teach all styles.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, I am in the middle, and actually, it's good that you have Pierre on this talk, because actually a lot of my views stem from him as well, because he'll go in a minute go and talk about it.
That's why I'm
But
putting him last.
but for example, when Dima said, the music has changed or whatever, and like for example, maybe in Israel, your parties you'll be sitting out for an hour because the music might not resemble or resonate with your way of dancing it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like we are now not in a bad way. We're in the present. The music's changed. For example, the newest Romeo Santos Suelas. I can't speak Spanish, but there's parts of that song where there is no bachata rhythm, there is no beat, and it's fused with other styles of music, but it is still predominantly bachata. So you call it a bachata, and Romeo Santos is a bachata singer. So therefore, as the music's changed, I believe the same thing. The dance has changed a little bit, I still personally use everything, my knowledge that I do know of the more traditional style, to interpret the newer music too. Because there's different parts of the music where you interpret your dancing differently. Well, I do anyway. So as the music has changed and evolved, I don't see why the dance can't evolve and change. I understand when there's zero resemblance to the original dance. I understand that. Then you can't call your dancing bachata. But if there is, why not? Why? And to answer your question about having the adjectives or whatever,
Yeah.
I think it's necessary. It is necessary in this day and age, because if you just call it bachata and one person's view of bachata is it's just how they dance in the DR, that's when they go, wait a minute, that's not bachata. Whereas
Yeah.
we should try and be more open, and with these labels, it gives people a better understanding of what they're about to watch. If they're opening a video, or if they're going to go and attend a workshop, they have a better idea of what to expect in the workshop. So I think it's necessary still.
Well, let me ask you this question directly: is sensual? Can you trace bachata in sensual?
Yes, the way that it's supposed to be. If it depends what you mean by sensual. If you're talking about the Corky and Judith
I'm talking about
way,
techniques. I'm talking about techniques. Pardon me when I call it sensual, because some people take it literally, and some people take it as it's a labeling thing for a
okay,
certain style. So what I'm
okay.
talking about is techniques.
So let's take an example of a technique then. For example, body isolations with the lead and the follow
Is
of
that
those
bachata?
isolations. No, it's not on it in isolation. No,
Okay.
but those body movements are required anyway to learn within bachata.
Yeah. So my question, getting back to this, can we trace bachata to sensual?
Yeah, because you don't dance just isolations the whole dance,
What do you dance?
or at least you shouldn't.
What is it, the technique that traces bachata in sensual? What
I
specific
would
technique?
say in sensual.
Yeah, what specific technique in sensual moves that traces its back to bachata?
Well, bachata sensual as a style already uses the bachata basic step. If you want to go to the basic step, side to side, you change the energy of that basic. You might miss out the tap. You might have your energy like just position on the four, like 1, 2, 3, 4. But you take out your tap, for example. You're still using um, from the base. You're tracing it back to that basic step, and just adapting it, and how you can interpret whatever music that is playing for that basic step.
Okay. Pierre?
Okay, so it basically goes back to how you define what is bachata, right? And the way that I've always approached it is from the music. The dance comes from the music. Not always, but in Latin dances, it tends to come from the music. The music comes first, and then a dance evolves which fits with that genre of music.
Sure.
It happened with son, it happened with cha-cha-cha, it happened with danzon, it happened with cumbia, it happened with merengue. The music came, the dance followed, right? And if something can happen in the music, it can therefore happen in the dance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So now, when you're talking about bachata music, what defines bachata music? Right? Bachata as a genre, it doesn't tell you what notes to play, what chords to play, what melodies to play, what lyrics to sing, what language to sing in. All it gives you is a rhythmic framework within which to work,
Yeah.
which is why traditional bachata music and modern bachata music share a common rhythmic framework. Yes, that's all they share,
Agreed. Agreed.
right?
Okay.
That Dima's disagreeing at the moment.
Oh,
I'd be
Yeah,
interested to hear
I mean, when you
why he
say frame,
disagrees.
we're talking about the structure of the music, which is the same with Romeo's songs, with Prince Roy's song. At
Yeah,
least the
it's a
majority of it.
framework.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the same construction. It's the same, except with added instruments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
added instruments, added influences as well. So when you take a song like Susuelas, yeah, there are sections, like Daniel said, there are sections in that song which are not bachata, but the composition as a whole is a bachata song because in the main body of the song, it is bachata. Yeah.
But it has a
So this
different feel. Would you agree that it has a
it has
different
a
feel?
yeah,
Okay.
but it has a completely different feel,
Okay.
right? It's the same structure, completely different feel.
So what is your point
Right?
on the labeling then? What is your point on the labeling when it comes to dancing? That bachata is bachata, and we're talking when it comes to bachata is the way they dance in the Dominican Republic, and bachata with adjectives, a moderna, sensual, a urbana.
But again, these adjectives are getting confusing now, right? Because some of them are brand names, some of them are names of a style,
I see.
some of
Yeah.
them are just simply adjectives, some of them are just made up, like Chong chatter, right?
So can I say then? Can I say then, Pierre? Can I say that? Look, with the style that I dance with the style that Dima dance, we call it bachata. With the style that Jorge and Judith and Daniel and Desiree dance, we call it bachata sensual. We cannot just call it bachata. Is that a right way to say it?
Yes and no, because again, with the music, it's all just bachata, right?
Agreed.
So yeah, but there are different subgenres within bachata music. Yeah, there's bachata moderna, like the stuff um, that Romeo Santos is doing. There's fusion bachata, right? So like stuff that like again Romeo Santos, Prince Royce, all of them they create fusions. You get fusions with tango,
Right.
you get fusions with flamenco, you get fusions with son. I mean, but it's still bachata. Yeah,
Dima,
but
hold on. Let me cut you off for there for a moment. We'll get back to you, Dima.
So one of the most important things that I think we should all understand that we're trying to take things like to take the pieces of the things that we want to relate to and say, okay, this is how I define bachata. But bachata is a culture. It's much more than a structure of music because you said earlier, Pierre, that yeah, any type of lyrics. No, bachata has a very specific mood and what do they sing about.
Musica di Amarche.
Also Romeo, also Prince Royce, also Kevin Cosmos, all of those guys saying the topic is important. Okay, of course there's some different variations to that, but they still keep it. Okay, so you cannot take this out like the core of the song and say, okay, we're just gonna relate to the way of the bongo and the way of the
I'm not related
segunda.
just to that. But like, okay, so if you're going to stick to the
Mhm.
traditional idea of bachata music, you shouldn't have women singing bachata.
No, because traditionally women also there are songs of women
There
in
were
bachata.
there were several, and there are several now.
And
Yeah.
we also can go to the reason why there are not many women, but there were women. The sister of Raulin sang in the 80s. Okay, it's not something new. And above all that, you say the music changes, but it also depends on the peak that specific DJs make to tens of thousands of songs. Okay, because I can pick only, only Luis Vargas song, only Raulin, and call it a bachata party, and you're gonna pick something else. But there's a bigger picture of how people who speak this native language relate to that, and what we take from that. So it is
But isn't the whole point of music and dance that it transcends culture and language and everything else? The whole point of music and dance is that it is international. It's a language that unites everybody, right? But you're trying very much to keep it within one community and say, no, it's our music, it's our culture. You can't have it.
okay.
Why is that?
Is Italian an Italian culture? Is Italian language is Italian culture? Can I
But
learn Italian?
Italian food is part of Italian
Okay.
culture, but
Yeah, of
Italian food
course.
is enjoyed all over the world.
Exactly. But if you want to call it Italian food, you're gonna prepare it in the way that Italians did it traditionally, and you can
Otherwise, it
No,
enjoy
would
it.
not
taste.
at all.
Otherwise, it
Not
would
at
taste
all.
different.
Not
And
at
you
all.
and you can enjoy it the same way as somebody in Rome
Okay,
in
but
the UK.
I'm Indian, right? And the curries that they serve in the UK bear
It's
nothing in
not curry.
relation to the curries that come from
Exactly.
Southern India, right?
So,
But I
so
still enjoy it as a curry. I still
okay,
call it a curry. I still
because you
go to a
know,
takeaway and buy a curry,
but Pierre, you know the difference because you
but it's
know
still a
the
curry.
origin.
Okay,
And
hold on. Let's stop arguing about food. You guys are making me hungry. Come on, man. It's
I'm
like
hungry. I'm hungry. This is why I brought up this.
I'm hungry.
I just had curry a few weeks ago. Come on. But anyways, we're getting off. We're getting further. But I wanted to concentrate in that because my take with this is, Dima. I'm not sure if you would understand this when I say this. I agree with keeping bachata just bachata because it is bachata. It looks, if it talks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it is a duck. So
Yeah,
if it moves like bachata, it sounds like bachata,
100%.
freaking, it's bachata. Now, this is not to say that I'm gonna just leave and cast away the other dances that is inspired by bachata, whether it's the technique or whether it's the music, and completely remove the name of it. Why? I'm gonna give you several reasons. Number one, it's inspired by bachata. Number two,
Okay,
there is that
can we
thing
rewind
where,
on that though?
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. There's that thing where I am the owner of the house and I moved to Philippines. Someone takes care of this house, my relatives, and it's been several years, 10 years. And then I come back and I say, you can get out of the house now. You just can't do that because now they own a piece of your property by taking care of this. Now, my question is, don't you think that modern bachata, sensual bachata, popularized bachata as it is today instead of the way they dance in the Dominican Republic? Because in my opinion, if that didn't happen, if bachata festivals didn't happen, we will not be talking today. Dima?
Well, obviously, I cannot deny this fact. This is the way I got into it. Okay, there's undeniable fact that I won't say, yeah, without that I won't be dancing and we won't be talking. So there is this part. But this is something that happened again 10 years ago. Now, if somebody enters the scene, there's zero chance he's gonna get interested like me to research more because he served something very, very different. First of all, as I said, it's always first, and I agree with that. With Pierre, we have some agreements. It's first of all about music. So if I'm going to Pierre's party and nobody's going to play ever Zacarias or Raulin and or Luis Vargas, I will never find about it.
Me
And
too.
this is what
I would never go to
Um,
that party. Yeah.
I don't know about parties around the world, but I know that in
in
London,
London.
in
Yeah.
London,
yeah. So
we play everything.
I know,
Yeah.
guys, and
And
and, and
I know for a fact that a lot of people come into bachata like Dima did, and then they start going back and doing tradition. Even this weekend, we've got
I saw
a
it.
whole weekender.
And I wanted
So
to relate to that because I think you're basically the only community, if I talk about communities
I
that
think so too. Yeah.
are still trying to do that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that. And I
Yeah.
also, for example, this is why I appreciate Biscuit for interviewing many Dominican
Yeah.
artists because you bring this notion. But if we look globally, look at most of 99% of the videos, 99% of the festivals, events, look at the lineup, look at the DJ lineup, look at the videos of the socials. You will not find those guys that you play and you promote. Okay, so like
uh,
why are we trying?
I
Pierre?
would. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm not going to deny that the sensual scene has its issues, right? It does have issues, right? But at the moment, in the sensual scene, there is a whole spectrum of what is labeled as sensual bachata, right? In its essence, sensual bachata is basically bachata moderna with some decorations.
I agree with
What
this.
it should
Yeah.
be.
With the
And
Moderna techniques, I agree. Yeah.
right? And at that level, yes, sensual bachata can be traced to bachata. Yeah,
Moderna.
but Moderna. Okay, let's rewind on that as well. So who invented Moderna?
Salseros.
Nobody invented Moderna. It's a social dance like every other social dance. It evolved, right? So people were dancing what we call Moderna, side to side, forward and back, in Spain, long before Tony Lara started teaching it in Europe, right? I went with my wife, well, who was before she was my
You didn't
wife,
say my current wife.
my current wife. You know what I mean?
He's in
I went
trouble.
with Zoe before we were married. We got engaged in Madrid, right?
Right.
And this was in like 2003. This was before Bachata Moderna exploded in Europe.
Right.
And we went to a little club in Madrid, and they were dancing bachata side to side, forward and back. Very basic there. So nobody invented bachata moderna. It evolved because bachata was being played in Spanish clubs and people needed to dance to it. So it has as much legitimacy as a style as the bachata from Dominican Republic. It is a social dance which evolved socially to dance to bachata music. There is no illegitimacy about that at all.
Yeah.
Um, my problem is, besides the side to side traveling step, Pierre, and I call that Moderna techniques because it came from the side step, this big.
Yeah,
And Moderna made it this big, the
yeah,
side to side step. Okay.
yeah.
That's the only trace I could see in modern.
Why is that? Why is that? It's because it's a rhythm, right?
Well, it's
Because
not it's
every
not a rhythm.
basic
I'm going
it
to
is
tell
a
you why Moderna evolved as what it is today, and I'm going to tell you why traditional bachata also evolved as it is today. Okay. First of all, the Dominicans. What do they dance? Merengue, bachata, uh, some
son,
salsa. But
Cachaca.
as you know, if you go to the Dominican Republic, they dance salsa differently, except for Rodolfo. Okay, but they dance it differently. Okay, they don't dance it like we do here in Europe or America.
No, that was
Or
very much sort of son and casino inspired. Yeah,
right. Well, yeah, yeah. So that's what they done. Son casino, bolero, merengue. That's their influence. You could tell, and you could trace in bachata. There are some son, there are some bolero influence. Okay, but that's it. They're not exposed to ballroom. They're not exposed to any other dance like tango, whatnot. Okay, there may be some, yes, but
exactly.
not exposed. But that's
Yeah,
their influence. That's why you see traditional bachata as it is today. It evolved, but it evolved within their knowledge, within the things that they see, their influences. Us,
yeah,
however, here in the Western world, we are influenced so much with many dance styles, hip
Mhm.
yeah.
hop, you name it. Okay, this is why bachata moderna evolves as it is today.
Does that sound familiar for anything? It sounds exactly the same as the music to me.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, sounds the same as the music, but if you look at Prince Royce, if you look at Romeo Santos, and I because they're very distinct artists, so I mentioned their name. Uh, there's the bachata hasn't really changed. Yeah, it might have changed and added some instrument. Addition does not mean it changed. They just add on, whether they added an
And that's what
introduction.
exactly what Moderna did.
Hmm?
That's exactly what Moderna did.
Of the, yes, I know, but like what I'm trying to say to you is that the majority, 99.9% of Moderna, is not, cannot be traced to traditional bachata.
Why?
Well, name me specific technique.
It's not about technique. It's
No,
about
no, no,
rhythm.
no. I'm talking about technique. Name me
No,
specific technique
it,
and movement because when you look at the dance, Pierre, you could judge for yourself whether it's bachata or not, or whether it's moderna or not. So it has to be the
okay,
movement.
but it's not. It's the rhythm, right?
Okay, the rhythm relates to movement.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so now my question is why is it that moderna doesn't have a trace of the traditional bachata? Let me answer that for you. It's because our influences in the Western world is not really that much of the original bachata. It's salsa, ballroom, hip hop, you name it. Am I making sense in this area?
Yes and no.
Okay. He always said a yes and no. Explain.
Because the underlying rhythm of Moderna is a bachata rhythm. I teach this every week in my classes, so I know it's there,
I
right?
understand that. I think we all agree here, ladies and gents, ladies and there are no ladies here. We all agree here, gents, that the music is bachata, right?
No, but no,
Okay. Whether we
but
like the sound of it
okay,
or not, because
okay,
I personally don't like the new Romeo song, but it
no,
is
but
bachata. Okay.
okay, but the basic steps, right, of all of these different dances, whether it's son, whether it's bolero, whether it's cha cha cha, whether it's like merengue or bachata, they all have a rhythm to the steps.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is what defines the dance as a genre.
No,
It's
it doesn't.
exactly,
Rhythm does not
exactly,
define the dance.
but it
Pierre.
does.
Of
It
course, it
does.
is. It includes the rhythm of
No,
defining a dance, but the dance is a movement. It's a technique. It's a
rhythm
motion.
rhythm is what defines the genre, right? What you're talking about is styles or subgenres within that genre.
Not
It's
style.
exactly the same as Suzuelas sounding completely different from a traditional bachata,
Right.
right? It's the same rhythmic
It's the
structure,
same structure.
but it feels and sounds completely different.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. So bachata, same rhythmic structure for moderna and traditional, but it looks and feels completely different.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't necessarily agree. I mean, we could name specific songs with this, but if you're talking about certain songs that missing instrument and it doesn't have a rhythm guitar, then that's, we can talk about it. Yeah, it changes. But if the rhythm
That's,
guitar is,
you followed all my posts, right?
yes, I do.
And I've argued against, like, when I was arguing about bachata remixes, I was able to say this remix is a bachata, this remix is not a bachata, right? And it's exactly the same with sensual bachata. I can say these dancers are dancing sensual bachata.
Right,
These dancers are not dancing sensual bachata.
right.
But what you guys have done is you said, okay, everyone who dances sensual bachata is not dancing bachata,
Hmm.
right? Which is not true,
Okay.
right?
Dima, what do you think of this? Because I have some more to say, but I don't want to steal the show. Go ahead.
So why can you relate to something that is sensual and not sexual? Like how you decide, because you have a certain common ground that you agree on and you decide on, and you say, okay, if it doesn't fit that criteria, it is not. It's not. It doesn't belong to this sort of style. And what I'm saying that the things develop this way because most of the people never cared to understand the original way. Because most of them, and even now, and this is what makes sensual dancers so different from all other styles. Because if I go to on-two dancers, they're gonna take song lessons, they're going to take Orishas lessons. They're going to go to the Cubans. They're going to go to Colombians. They're going to develop their dance style. And what you guys, or not you specifically, but I'm talking about the general scene, are saying, we have our own interpretation and we decide this is this, and we don't want to hear about your way. We don't care about this. We have our own way. It's our evolution, whatever. But most of the
But
people
do you but do
never
you
care to understand.
but do you see? I think you're overgeneralizing, right?
Okay.
Because like someone like me, I have
Mhm.
taken the time to go and learn about
Yeah.
traditional bachata, right?
Okay.
I haven't come to the same conclusions that you have about it, but that doesn't mean I haven't taken the time to learn it,
Okay. So
right?
maybe
And
you.
there's also a whole generation of sensual teachers. If you look at the first generation of sensual bachata teachers, they're
Mhm.
going back, they're studying traditional bachata,
I agree with
right?
that.
They've got people like Evelyn La Negra, right? She
Okay.
is teaching Dominican bachata as part of the sensual bachata syllabus, right?
I can
So
say that I know 99.9% of the people in the world that teach what I love. And I talk with them continuously. And the biggest stars of the leaders of the sensual world, they don't care about it, man. They never take, and those are the people that are invited to all the festivals, that are leading example to most of the teachers worldwide, that everybody trying to be like them. They don't do this.
Mm.
They never go to Rodolfo. They never go to Fariseo. They don't go to those people because
Well,
they, yeah.
it's okay. We're beating the horse that is
But,
already
but
dead in
but
this
again,
matter.
I mean, like if you're talking about you have to learn from the source, no, you
Yeah.
don't, right? I've never taken
Well,
a lesson with Eddie Torres. Does that mean that I
okay.
can't dance salsa on two or teach salsa on two?
No, because Eddie Torres created a system that he made other people to teach by his system, and there are many great on-two dancers that teach by Eddie Torres' system using his exact same.
I've never met the
Studio.
person who invented son. I've never met the person who invented cha cha cha.
Oh, hold on. Let me ask
I've
Dima
never
about this
met.
because he was making a point about
Mhm.
editors making a system, and he did indeed created a system. My question to you, Dima, is bachata dancing in the Dominican Republic a system?
No,
Explain.
no. Okay, so we're talking about folklore, about social dance that is not written, not nobody besides maybe. Now there's some people who are doing it. Carlos did it. Maria and Alex do this. There are many people who did create a system, but it's not universal. There was nobody who said, "Okay, this is the way that on two is danced." Okay, nobody did it, and I hope that nobody will do it. Okay, because this things creates some structure that I don't like. But I think that many people can go to different artists and to understand this way by how the Dominicans learn, how the Dominicans learn to dance. They copy their parents, they copy their uncles, they get inspiration from tens of people around them, and this is why everybody is unique.
Yeah.
And this is not happening in the sensual world because, okay, this is we talked about it.
So the question is then, going back to the question before going to the next topic, I'm going to ask each one of you, it's a yes or no. Okay. Uh, can we accept, Dima, then that bachata is bachata and bachata sensual has to have an adjective? Yes or no?
I think no, it should have its own, the way it is now. No, I think it
Oh,
should be called sensual, and that's it, or modern, or whatever. Invented a kind of name.
all right, Chongo, what do you feel about this? Yes or no?
I think just a yes or no. It's not that simple.
Well, you could explain a little bit. Can we accept adjectives from
Yeah,
the bachata, and can we accept bachata is just bachata from the traditional side?
I can't answer that in yes or no. So I'm gonna say yes. We can still call it bachata, even if you're calling it sensual. It depends on the country, the place, or whoever the teacher is. Because I know very good teachers in London, UK, and around Europe, where you can say, okay, this is still bachata, what you're teaching,
Okay.
even though it's in the sensual school. This
Okay.
is
So
still
your
bachata.
answer is yes.
Yes.
Okay, Pierre.
Um, but I've said the same. I've had the same argument for the past 10 years, right? Yeah, bachata is a genre or an umbrella, and underneath that umbrella there are different styles. In the music, you can't deny that that's true, right? So why would you even try and deny that's true for the dance? It makes no sense.
So what's your
How is it?
answer? Yes or no then?
So bachata is bachata.
Okay.
Bachata moderna is bachata.
So
Bachata sensual is bachata. Bachata
you're
fusion.
saying we don't have to have an adjectives.
It depends. It depends on the context and who you're talking to.
Yeah,
So
but this is you. I'm asking you, yes or no? Do we have to have adjectives in bachata?
it depends on the context.
Ay,
Yeah.
Dios mío.
But it does. Everything depends on context,
Okay.
right?
Here's
Yeah.
what I feel about it. Like what I said before, bachata is bachata. Traditional bachata, Dominican bachata is bachata. Moderna,
Okay, let me ask you a
sensual,
question.
urban, no. I gotta have to have an adjective to it.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What is the difference between Dominican bachata, traditional bachata, and authentic bachata? And bachata.
Authentic bachata, I have no idea. But Dominican bachata is an evolved style from traditional bachata.
Is that bachata?
Yes.
So why do
Why
we?
do you ask? What? Ask me why?
Why?
Because
So
it still
Dominican
looks like
bachata is
bachata.
different from bachata?
The what?
Is Dominican bachata different from bachata?
It still looks like traditional bachata.
So okay, so traditional bachata, Dominican bachata, and bachata are
Yeah.
different things.
No, they're pretty much the same music, and with added techniques and evolved techniques. More footwork for Dominican bachata.
Okay, so now we have different styles under Dominican, or so you've already got labels and adjectives under bachata. Why can't we have more labels?
I cannot have adjectives on Dominican and traditional because they're the same. They look the
But
same. They
they
sound the
already
same.
exist.
They
They
move the
already
same.
exist. Dima teaches authentic bachata. You
Uh,
teach you teach
Pierre,
Dominican bachata. Someone else
you're
teaches traditional bachata.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
But
because
you
you're not.
already know why I put adjectives in that because it's not
because it's
because
context.
it's not because of the context. It's because of the way it is viewed. For example, I'm going to give you an example
Yeah,
of
it's for
the
clarity. It's
viral.
for
Hold on,
context.
the viral video that came with our fellow dancer Amanda Grace. You know that was her original title was "I Quit Bachata." You know, I responded to that firmly, and I said, "This is misleading, Amanda. You gotta change that title because people actually think that what you're talking about in that title, why you quit bachata, is bachata, but you're actually talking about bachata sensual. Guess what? She changed the title because what she was talking about is bachata sensual. She is not talking about bachata, the dance, by any means. So a beginner, a person who is not knowledgeable in bachata, who is just happened to watch and interested in learning bachata, see that, it will completely get turned up. Also, bachata is not safe. What about others who are saying dancing traditional bachata on the background right there? It's like, what are they dancing? That's not bachata.
Oh, come on, Rod. This has happened in every style of dance, right? You go to a salsa club, right? And in one club, they're teaching salsa on one. You go to a different club, they're teaching casino. You go to another salsa club, they're teaching rueda, right? It's still salsa. And
No,
yes, beginner students will always be
you're talking
confused.
about son casino. You know they don't call that salsa music, right? They call that timba.
It's still salsa.
The umbrella of salsa, isn't
Well,
it?
if you call it that umbrella of salsa, the term, yes. But the music of casino is timba, not salsa. You call
It's not
that
only
timba, you'll get
timber.
shot.
It's not only timber. They dance casino to all sorts of different styles of salsa, not
Like
just
what?
timber.
You can't tell
Huh?
me New Yorican salsa will dance timba to it.
Timbaton, Cubaton, for a start.
Cubaton is a freaking rigaton.
Right.
Cubaton is salsa mixed with timbaton.
Hey guys, we're meant to be talking about
Don't
bachata
say
here.
that. But anyway, that's okay. Dima said no. I say adjective is yes. Pierre, I don't know his answer. Chong says yes. You can still call it bachata sensual. It doesn't have to be sensual. You can call everything bachata as long as they name it bachata and sounds like bachata or move like bachata. Is that right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I was just going to ask you something, Rodney, and I hate to just use myself as an example because you
No,
know I
go for it.
dance.
Go for it.
You know that I dance all the styles. So, say for example, you saw a video of me dancing, and say it was only a 30-second clip, and say it was a
I
part of
could
the song,
testify to that. Yeah.
and say it was only part of the song that didn't have bachata rhythms, but I'm interpreting other parts of the song. Now, you can't then therefore say that's not bachata because you see what I mean? Or like you can't say that has to just be called sensual because I know for a fact I dance bachata. You see what I mean?
Yeah,
So
but when it comes to sensual, my brother, you already know that 99.9% of it are all non bachata movements.
I don't know about that. It's not that way the way I teach it and
Here
the way a lot of people do it.
is 99.9% of bachata sensual movements bachata.
You're oversimplifying. Bachata sensual is a decoration of bachata moderna, right? Bachata moderna is your foundational moves, your side to side, your forward and back, your basic rhythm, your turn patterns, and everything else. And then you add to that the waves, the isolations, and stuff, and you get bachata moderna,
Yeah,
bachata sensual, right?
right,
So the thing that makes bachata sensual different from moderna is the waves and the isolations.
right.
But bachata sensual is not just the waves and the isolations.
What is it?
It's everything.
Okay,
It's the bachata
everything
foundation,
but
the
bachata.
moderna foundation, with the additional movements that make it sensual.
Yeah, but do you see what I'm talking about? Okay, so let's talk about. Let's get off this topic because we already know where we stand. Uh, Pierre, as always been, he's been neutral in all of this. He would defend traditional bachata one day. He would defend sensual bachata one day.
I've always defended bachata.
Okay. You have any like? See, Dima
It's
is
true. I've always
Dima is.
defended
Look at Dima's
bachata.
reaction. I was like, Pierre, you need some Brugal, man.
I've
I
always
have
defended bachata, whether it be traditional or moderna or
You
sensual. I've
have,
always
but you go
defended.
both ways, and some people don't like that. But I like it because you're very open to. You're an educator. You like to learn and learn all kinds of things where they're coming from and why they are like that. And I respect that because we need that in the dance community. Uh, it's just that some people like me who are almost black and white, meaning I'm extreme with the other, and I'm not neutral by any means because that's just me. That's my personal mantra. You know, if you're gonna go to war, go to war. If you don't want to go to war, don't go to war. But don't go in between and be neutral. That's me. Uh, but Amanda Grace, let's talk about her because that touched me. And
Yeah.
when that video posted, it's not about the style per se that she's talking. Of course, it's about techniques. Okay, and this is where I asked Dima when a bachata lesson is done in the Dominican Republic. I haven't seen it when I was there several times. Now it's a different story because it's now 2023. Do they teach technique and do they teach safety with the techniques, the dynamics of the techniques, Dima?
okay. So I just came back from there 2 months ago,
We noticed.
and well, there's so many things that I want to answer before, but I will relate to
Sure.
what you asked me now.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you go to DR, in the case you go to a real festival, which is not like the tourist Punta Cana, whatever, your lesson is not only taking lessons with the teachers of 1 hour lesson when you try to copy their moves. Your lesson is actually dancing with native speakers. This is how I call them. Is absorbing this vibe, and you learn from that more than you're going to learn from a lesson with me there. Okay, and I did lessons there, but I said the same, guys. I'm gonna show you basics. I'm gonna show you structure, but you're gonna learn from one dance with the local dancer who is not a trained dancer, as Carlos like to say, he's not a studio dancer, more about what is acceptable, how is the holding, what is the amount of pressure you need to put, which is who is leading the dance, and all of this. Okay, you're going to learn more. So it's a different story. If we're talking about teaching the same kind of dance here or outside of Latin communities, so you have to explain it very profoundly. You have to teach technique. You have to teach all of that. You have to explain like you're teaching language. Okay, how you teach to the ABC, how you explain to a child how to structure a sentence, adjectives, and all of that. It's the same. So I wouldn't compare to those two things. But I wanted to relate to something small before that, because we talked
Go ahead.
about something
Go ahead.
very important: branding, labeling, and how people are gonna relate to everything. Look, we're here 4 people, and we don't agree on namings. So imagine what happens in the outside world, how this is magnified, or how it's much bigger. Uh, so this is why I'm saying very like profoundly no or yes, because we are not the people who define what is bachata and what is not. I'm sorry, guys. It is existed in the outside world. In the metrics, this was something that Adi wrote, and I agree with that 100%. You cannot define something that's already defined, something that is not yours. I'm not going to define pizza. Okay, I didn't invent that. I can evolve that. Okay, I'm going back to food, sorry, but it's just another example. I'm not going to define a language that's already existent and spoken among 10 million people. So I'm going to judge and say, okay, what you're talking is not like English because you have a different dialect. It doesn't work like that, guys. And branding is very important. So this lady, I saw this video. She made a video, and this is an example of how people are going to relate, because they don't care about adjectives. What they're going to remember is in bachata scene, this is how they treat women. She felt this and this and that. And then when somebody new that's going to enter the dance scene, he's going to watch this video, and this is going to be his perception about bachata. This is how he's going to relate to that. He doesn't care about all the adjectives and all this stuff we're talking about, because this is not how people relate to labeling or branding.
Yeah,
And
that's the problem that I had with the title, and that's the reason I respectfully corrected her, and respectfully she obliged, and I really appreciate that, because that kind of, you
but I
know.
think it's too late, Rod.
Yeah,
This is
well,
what I'm saying.
I know this, but
This is too late. We're about this ship of trying to categorize things and trying to bring everybody together. It's left because the industry doesn't walk this path. Okay, the industry has its own path, which is driven by different things, and they
yeah,
don't care. You know,
right, Chongo. What do you feel about that video that you saw, and what's your take?
That's very open.
We're
Well, like,
talking about the Amanda Grace video, ladies and gentlemen, and the
yeah.
title of that video was "Why I Quit Bachata."
Well, first
Sensual,
of all,
that is. Yeah.
it's a really upsetting that she experienced those things. So, um, you know, when you got a million things to say and you can't say it all at the same time.
I know,
Um,
I know.
the first one thing is sticking out is actually, I think maybe just a couple of hours before we started this live, Pierre put out a post about new teachers coming in to teach, and so one of the things is to try, well, for the community around the world, is to try and make sure that, you know, people that want to come in to teach actually know their stuff, and know that when you're teaching a social dance, to how to teach, you know, etiquette and safety as like number one things. You know, that kind of stuff is not, you know, people want. I don't know. You just go and read Pierre's latest post. Was it a couple of hours ago? I think.
Yeah.
For me, I read it, and I can't put anything against it, because I don't know. Pierre is a knowledgeable man, but that's one of the things where, I mean, she said about the state of bachata in the US, right, and then changed it to sensual in the US or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that could be said for many places in the world, not just the US, but at different varying levels of like degrees of severity, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, Coming out of COVID, for example, you've got a whole load of you know, individuals that were learning online, not in person, or, you know, and online. When you teach online, for example, you're not about to tell them, when we get back to social dancing, you know, you need to look after each other, you need to be spatially aware. There's been none of that teaching, you know. It's just been learn a routine, or learn a movement. So coming out of COVID, I think it's amplified that too. Not to say it's the only reason, but also after COVID, you have a whole branch of you know, new teachers that have been learning or whatever and want to get into teaching, whatever, and maybe they don't have that same sort of training or experience to be
Experience.
to be teaching those, you know, the social dance or the way that bachata sensual and perhaps those movements, cambres or whatever, should be taught and be taught in a safe way.
Let me rephrase the question, guys. I'm going to rephrase the question because
Hey, I didn't get a chance to answer it.
no, let me rephrase.
Don't forget
Let me
Pierre.
rephrase the question. Is sensual techniques dangerous if it's not learned properly?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
can be.
Here?
Okay, I made a post about this about 7
I'll
years
be
ago.
back in a second.
Okay.
Oh, just before we go on, can I just apologize
Yeah, go
for,
ahead.
for the
Jeez,
dogs
guys.
barking in the
It's been
background?
an hour, so yeah.
Look, my little girl puppy, she's having
ahead,
puppies.
go ahead.
Look, she's
Go
having
ahead.
puppies right
I'll
now.
talk to Chongo.
Oh,
I'll talk to Chongo.
Anyway, okay, so yeah, I wrote a post about this about 7 years ago, and it was called "Why the Overuse of Sensual Moves is Giving Bachata a Bad Name." Right?
I remember that.
Basically, what has happened over the past 7, 8 years is that those decorations that I was talking about, the isolations, the head rolls, the booty rolls, all of that stuff, which is supposed to be just a decoration, has now become the dance. Right?
Indeed.
So, and the problem is that with the rise of social media, right, all of these movements are stuff that's going to get you hits on social media because they look sexy, they look cool. The guys stroking the lady's face, they look like really sexy with each other and all this sort of stuff, right? But it gives a false impression of how the dance should be danced, right? So, yes, what I was saying earlier is that there is a whole spectrum within what is called sensual bachata or bachata sensual. And unfortunately, it's the stuff at the wrong end of that spectrum which gets the exposure on social media. Yeah.
So, is bachata sensual dangerous when it comes to techniques and movements then?
Yes. Again, one of the examples that I've given for many years is how you lead a head roll, right? Now, anyone who's taken Zouk classes will know that they've been doing head rolls in Zouk for years. And the technique that they do is to tilt the frame of the follower, and then the follower does the head roll on her own. But she
Did Dima just head
understands.
roll himself too?
I tried to follow Pierre's explanation.
Yeah. So as soon as you tilt the frame, the follower's head will dip to the right,
Yeah.
and as you change the orientation of her frame, the head follows.
Right.
So you
right.
are not directly leading her neck, right?
Yeah.
But there are teachers who will lead a head roll by putting their hand on the neck and flipping the neck to
Seen
make her
that
do
many
the head
times.
roll,
Yeah.
right? I actually had an argument with Alon about this,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah? Alon Goshen from Israel. I had a big argument with him about this.
Yeah.
And he was saying, it doesn't matter if you lead by the neck, as long as you know what you're doing. I was like, but it does matter, because if the follower doesn't know what you're doing or she resists, the first thing she does is to push against the move that you're trying to lead. And now you're putting direct
Very
pressure
good point.
on
Yep.
her spine, on
Yep.
her neck muscles. And if you think how many head rolls a sensual bachata follower does in a night, right? Every dance that she has, there'll be 2 or 3 head rolls. You multiply that by 10, 15 dances,
Yeah.
and you've got like 40 head rolls in a night. And 90% of the leaders that are leading them are not leading them properly.
And that's unfortunate because we cannot control who would dance in the dance floor, whether they're beginners or advanced. We cannot
Exactly.
ban them either. You know?
And and that's the other problem. I mean, I know that you say that these are different styles, but in London we have dancers who dance traditional style, who dance moderna, who dance sensual, right? So when you're going out and dancing with someone on the floor, you might be a sensual leader dancing with a traditional follower, right? And as soon as you start and try and lead her for that head roll, she just goes stiff.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
Try
And then
leading Georgette
and
into
then and then the
that.
guys, they don't know how to back out of that move and do
Yeah,
something different.
right.
They power through the move by pushing her, right? And now it becomes a fight.
Yeah,
And now she gets injured,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So part of the reason why I want to unify these styles is to get over problems like that. Yeah.
Well, I
Because
can
if
tell
people
you without a
learn,
shadow of a doubt, Pierre, that 99.99999% of Dominican bachata or traditional bachata is completely safe.
yeah, I agree with you. Because sensual
Because we don't have
movements,
dangerous techniques.
no, because
And
the sensual movements that we're talking about, the head rolls and everything else,
Mm.
are about joint manipulation, right?
Right.
So you're manipulating things like shoulders, necks, spines, everything else. And to do that safely, you need to know proper technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just
But
that, Pierre. It's not just the movement for injuries, but it is also the invasion of whether it's privacy or whether it offends women to be kissed in their hands or to be caressed in their hair. Because if we look at that in a other sense, that's sexual harassment.
I mean, come on.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
But again, like there has been stuff, there is stuff that is native to other dances, which is
right,
sexual,
right,
right? It's not about the dance style itself. It's not about the moves
sure,
themselves.
sure.
It's about the intent of the dancer. Yeah. So to say that sensual bachata is sexual is wrong. It's the intent of the people who are dancing sensual bachata that way that makes it wrong. I dance sensual bachata lots of times, right? I don't make it sexual. People who dance sensual bachata with me feel safe, right?
Well, number one, you know what you're doing. Number one, you know the body movements.
Yeah,
You can lead. You know the dynamics of it. The people that are just beginners, or even people that refuse to learn, or just learning in YouTube without any proper correction from an instructor, when they apply that in the dance, you would see videos like that. That's what Amanda Grace was talking about.
I agree with you. But it's
Yeah,
not the style that's at fault.
yeah, Dima.
It's the people.
I have so much to say. First of all, the thing why people should understand history, because all those things that we are talking about, it's a phases that the bachata went through during ages to develop in the way that is going to be adapted to everyone. Everyone. And everyone means everyone. And if you're a couple, you're going to dance in the most sensual way that you've never seen on your most sensual dance floor. With the most sensual, you will see things Dominican do with each other that you will never imagine.
Yeah.
Okay? And so how common knowledge or folklore develops is many people experience many things and then they develop a common language that is adapted to this community. Okay? So the sensual community is it's in its baby steps of understanding the relations that people develop during ages in the Caribbean. Okay, so it's not, this is what I'm saying, it's not about only about movements or steps. It is a much wider phenomenon of how people enjoy their life, enjoy their free time.
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah,
the first thing. Second thing, yes,
I agree with that.
style is not an entity. It is something that some leaders of this group promote, and this is how they influence on the followers. So it is very vivid that people who are doing this stuff are not trained professionals. They don't understand the human body structure. They don't understand how the spine is built, how the whole our body is built, and they manipulate it in that way that you will, if you do, I did once a poll about people, how many of you were injured during the dancing. And it was something like 80% women and men that were injured on the dance floor. So you guys didn't adapt to that because you don't, not you, okay, it's not you specifically, but I'm talking about the non-bachata community that calls it bachata, that are not want to learn from history and from people who went through these steps. It's like babies that don't want to learn from parents that already went through all of this. Okay? So
But that's been true of every genre of dance that you can think of.
yeah,
Every
look,
genre
look
has.
what happened. Look what happened.
yeah,
It is true.
yeah,
What happened? The music arrived to Europe and to the States, and it sounded cool, but you wanted to do things that looked cool in the movies of the Latin way of living, of the
sure, sure.
sensual stuff and relations of the Latin fashion, without actually learning that and understanding this culture. And it's not specifically Dominican, okay? It is much wider than that, but it's like taking all the things that you love and trying to copy them without understanding how to draw them and without understanding the technique of them. And it's still now. I mean, it is open. Like you know how I learned? I watched YouTube and I saw that they're doing something that I don't, and I was thinking that I'm learning bachata, but I wasn't. And then I started to ask questions, you know, like a kid that wants to learn. Why do they do that? Why do they do the small steps? Why don't they manipulate the body? Why don't they do? And you get the answers.
But we're not disagreeing. We are agreeing.
Yeah, we're agreeing with this.
Okay.
Let me ask Dima with a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
When they teach bachata in the Dominican Republic,
Yes.
my impression is this: when I went there several times and danced with the mujeres and hang out with the crowds, they don't teach proper technique. Meaning, oh, here's what I do. You go ahead, do it, okay? And I understand that because number one, they never really learned the dance per se in a formal instructional way. That's their culture. They grew up with it, you know. Some of them even told me like, "Oh, I didn't know you could teach our dance. I didn't know we can teach it," you know. And therefore, when you design a program for traditional bachata or Dominican bachata in the Dominican Republic, the way they teach it, it has to be the experience. Because that makes sense. Because the feel, the vibe, the music, and the experience and dancing with the locals, that makes sense because they have no syllabus.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
But what's missing in those experiences, though, however, in my opinion, is the dynamics of the partner in front of you, the connection, the lead skills, the follow skills. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Exactly, Ronnie. This is one of the biggest struggles I was going through and I'm going through. And this is just a clash of not civilizations, but a clash of two cultures. One that was grown in that, and suddenly somebody, I can say white, European, Ukrainian like me appears and says, I want to learn that and I want to teach that. And they are puzzled because, first of all, who the fuck are you? And why you like why are you coming to our place and trying? But actually, Dominicans are the opposite. You know,
no, they're opposite. They're very nice about it. You know,
they're super excited to see somebody like us who is
exactly.
From, and they're super excited. And I got the biggest love and hug from people who are seeing somebody like me getting interested in something that is considered very low level. But most of the Dominican teachers, they're going to learn more from people like me how to teach Europeans than somebody who is a newcomer and wants to learn their dance. But there are some that, because of the industry, because of the influence of many Europeans coming there, starting to develop a system.
Yeah, that's good.
But I can say sincerely, without offending anyone, the best teachers of authentic bachata, or Dominican, or as I call it, just bachata, are people who learned it not from the age of 0, but who had to go through all this process, because now we know how to explain it to them. But
Uh,
there are already many Dominicans that are adapted to that, and they
yeah,
can
let's
explain.
not take into account that the Dominicans that were born there and grew up as a child that came to America. Let's not take that. We give them credit because now
Of
that they were
course,
in America, they were very much influenced by
of
partner
course.
dancing dynamics and techniques.
Mhm.
Therefore, they created a system to teach
Exactly.
the
There,
traditional
i-
bachata. Now,
if
yeah,
there's a demand, so they're going to develop the need
yeah.
to explain. This is
So
very
I
simple.
get this. Safe technique, safe movement in traditional bachata. I get that because of the style and the techniques and the movement. Okay, and of course, I said 99.99% is because some people step on somebody's foot, but
Mhm.
that's besides the point. Now, let me switch to Pierre and Chongo, and that is what is our excuse with modern and sensual bachata? Why now that most women are complaining it's dangerous? You don't hear that complaints in the Dominican community. Are we not doing our job as teachers, Pierre?
No, what this is something that I discuss quite often. Right? It is technique. There is an issue with how we teach bachata sensual technique. Right? It's not taught well at the moment by a lot of teachers, and it needs to be rethought how we teach it. The teaching of these movements within the Zouk community, they've evolved methodologies for how to teach those movements, and the teachers teach them safely. But that hasn't yet come into bachata sensual, and it needs to. So yes, there is a problem with how we teach technique in that community.
Okay, hold on. Chongo?
Well, I will go one further because the teaching of the techniques is one thing, but I believe a bigger thing about this with all the safety issues is the impact of social media.
Yeah,
Simple as that. Because there is no context to what was taught in the class when you see the demo video 1 minute, or for example on Instagram. You get the flashy stuff, you get the tricks from the demo because it's used as a promotional tool now these days. But you don't get the context of how the class was broken down, how the safety issues with the stuff that you're learning, or whatever it is. There's no context. It's just the video, and then there's someone saying, "Oh, this looks super cool. I want to learn that. I'm gonna go and learn bachata." And so they go to a class, and then they think that's what it is, and that's what they want to learn because that's what they're attracted to. You see what I mean? So I think that's a bigger issue aside from the level of the teaching that you're going to be getting.
How do we change it?
Well, we need to be starting to attack with the social media. For example, this talk is one way. Um, I would I would try to say to the big influencers on Facebook or Instagram or whatever that have a big following to try and make a small movement to be, you know, okay, look, here are my videos which I'm using for promotion, which is all flashy, but have a disclaimer, say, look, this is not appropriate for the social dance floor because no one is getting that context of what it is. Or if you are teaching a social dance, I mean, I made a post about this, I don't know, I think it was last week. Are we supposed to be teaching a social dance or a performance dance?
Yeah, I saw that. That was a good
So,
post, by the way. Yeah, I like that post.
so you know, from what I can see, being a promoter as well and seeing stuff in my parties, is it feels like, I'm not saying this is the case, but it feels like everyone is trying to learn to be a show off and to make a video for their Instagram. That's what it feels like to me. I'm not saying it's 100% the case,
It
but
is.
they're learning to they want to go to class to learn to see what they've done on what people have done on YouTube or Instagram, and they want to learn that stuff so they can reproduce it for their own video. You, they're not wanting to learn the social dance.
Yeah,
What?
Um,
Dima.
Look, guys, I'm working now in digital marketing. This is my profession, and this is go the opposite way of Chongo is right 100%. I'm just saying it's not going to change because social media is built on short videos of short impact of flashy things that are going to drive a lot of audience. And it's not going to change because this is, if you're going to do it the way the Chongo does or hotels, you're going to lose 90% of the potential customers because they're not going to come because they come because of this.
But do we want those type of customers? That's the you
But
see.
this is the majority of people, man.
Yeah.
This is the majority of the beginners. I don't say that majority of the dancing, but the majority of the growing of the dancing is those kind of people that see very cool, flashy moves with the opposite sex,
Yeah.
and they want to be doing that, skipping all those levels, and the industry pushes that because they hire those people who do that because they bring many people that want to do it like them, and this is this circle that is not going to stop. It just unless there's going to be a decision that we don't care about money and we care about technique and people not getting injured, which is not going to happen because this is not what drives any industry.
Yeah.
So this is why I say this. It wasn't like that with salsa. It is not like that with kizomba. It is not like that with what used to be the Latin scene. But the Latin scene dancing has experienced a great explosion thanks to this.
Yeah. So, guys, when I dance with my wife, I could caress her hair, I could hold her butt, I could uh, um, kiss her hand. But what if you're dancing with the strangers? Is this an acceptable thing?
This is what I was saying. It's like it seems to me that common sense is super uncommon. I mean, like, I don't know what I don't know people's culture. It's like people kind of take that kind of thing, say they watch the hair stroking or putting their hand on the follower's head. They use watching these things on social media as like a ticket that's acceptable. I don't know. It depends on each and every dance that you have. If you're dancing with a friend that knows you very well, maybe you're going to be able to do that, or it fits. But it depends on every single different follower or leader that you dance with. But as a base level, those kind of things, in my view, is not acceptable to be teaching. If you're a teacher, if you're teaching that stuff, for me, you're giving the wrong impression of how to conduct yourself in a social dance scene.
Here?
Yeah, because like this is something that, again, I've disagreed with several teachers on because they said, "Oh, it's my demo. I'm just doing it for my demo. The students shouldn't be copying that."
Yeah.
But my thing has always been, if you're teaching, then your demo is still within the teaching place. Yeah. So anything that you put in that demo is educational. And if you're educating people to touch someone's face or grab their bum, then you're responsible for that behavior. So, yeah, I understand.
I remember Tigger's video where it says, "Hey guys, when
Yeah,
you
I
see
remember
us
that.
when you see us dancing like this and we're doing this move, that's because we're fucking." That's basically said. It's like that's different from you guys.
Yeah.
It was a good video. It's just that it wasn't publicized and it wasn't emphasized enough that, like Pierre was saying, beginners new to the bachata sees that. I relayed this to the video that Amanda, our fellow dancers, Amanda Grace posted when the original title was like "Why I Quit Bachata," and then she changed it to "Why I Quit Bachata Sensual," because I called her into it, and respectfully she changed it, and I appreciate that. It offended me because why would you quit bachata? Man, bachata is a beautiful dance. And then I look at the video, oh my God, it's bachata sensual. Well, you need to make that clear. This is why, that's my initial feeling every time I see people posting bachata and just me, it's not bachata. So I still have a
But
problem with that.
I've got
I still
exactly.
go back to the labeling, guys. I still go back to the adjectives
But
because it
I
offends
have.
me. It affects a lot of people when you say bachata and you're talking about bachata sensual.
But I have exactly the same feeling when you guys are dissing bachata sensual, and what you're not talking about is not bachata sensual.
So here, I want to quit bachata because I need chiropractor every day. How do you feel? Would you say, tell me that bachata is safe and that I
Yeah,
shouldn't stop teaching,
if
I
it's
shouldn't
danced
stop learning
properly,
bachata?
if bachata sensual is danced properly, it is safe.
It's
But
100%
not
safe.
everyone dances bachata sensual correctly. And
Okay.
you are now saying that the whole of bachata sensual needs to be chucked out because it's not safe.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I
But
love
that's
sensual
It's
bachata, okay?
it's
It's
all
not the dance I prefer,
you're
but I love.
framing it like that. You're
No,
framing it
no.
like that.
Okay. Forgive me if you misinterpreted that, what I said. I'm saying to the beginners, when you teach, you cannot control who gets into your class, whether they're beginners, whether they're advanced, even if you offer advanced courses. Beginners will still come because they think they're intermediate or they think they're advanced. Now, we don't have a control over this. We title it bachata, okay, body rolls, blah, 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 blah. And then they go to the floor. And then you see a video, it's like, I dance with so and so, bachata, and he was body rolling me. I quit because now I can't walk. There is a certain responsibility in this. And part of it is labeling. There's a certain accountability of this, and part of it is mislabeling.
but there's mislabeling everywhere, right? It's like even now, it's like we're all talking about bachata sensual, right? I'm disagreeing with your definition of it. You're disagreeing with my definition of it. I'm disagreeing with other teachers who claim to teach bachata sensual, but in my eyes are not teaching bachata sensual. Right? This exists as a problem everywhere. It's not gonna be fixed just by saying what you're saying.
But I think it's going to be fixed if we agree with it and we're in unison with it and
But
we,
we're not in unison with it. I'm saying that bachata sensual is bachata and it is safe. But not everyone dances it like that.
Yeah.
And you are disagreeing with
you
that.
can't say that. But
I can say
bachata,
it because
no,
I
you
dance it
can't.
and I teach it.
Why are there viral videos then that says I quit bachata? And it's
Be-
because of bachata sensual.
It's not
because no, because of the people who dance sensual bachata in that way. It's
Okay.
not because of the style itself.
Okay, so what do we do then to change this? Because Dima think he can't change. We can't change it. It's out of control.
well. We already discussed two of the ways. One of the ways is up the level of the teaching and knowledge of the teaching around
Okay.
the world. Don't know how
Yeah,
you can do that like this. It's going to take time. The
yeah,
other one
it's gonna
is like
take time.
is to try and let people have hear what we're saying. That's what you see on social media is not 100% what should be done on the social dance floor,
Right.
for one.
Right.
And in some cases, like you may say, is may not even be bachata to begin with. So the only way to attack the social media, I can't think of any other way apart from asking, big influencers who have lots of followers to say, hey, look, think about what if you're a new teacher or if you're wanting to learn bachata, this is what bachata really is. All these other videos I have is me promoting myself, but when you come to class, you're going to learn social dance and how to do it properly. Like if it comes from the top, others newer teachers will follow because at the moment the newer teachers are following the example of what's out there from the bigger teachers, the bigger artists, and they're saying, okay, they're doing like some nice flip in their demo, and they got maybe if we do something like that in our demo, it will help us grow too. Even if they are teaching social dance in their class, the demo doesn't reflect what they're actually teaching. They're doing something for the gram, you know. You see what I mean?
I have a suggestion, and I think this would work. I don't know if you would agree with me. In every videos, after workshop, performative thing, there's got to be a caption there that says all the techniques executed here are dangerous and should not be used by beginners and otherwise corrected by teachers or instructed by teachers. Do we agree that we should have a warning in those videos?
Some sort of disclaimer
You don't
saying,
need a warning. I mean, this
but
is
because you don't need a warning because it should be bloody common sense. But apparently, there's none of
Why
that.
do you think they do that on other commercials though, and
Well,
exercise and
so
video?
if you see a video of a martial arts fight, do they have a disclaimer on there saying you shouldn't do these techniques at home? I mean, come on, Rod.
Actually, they do that. Don't try this at home. They do
No,
that. Yeah.
not
They
home
do.
videos. They don't.
They do that,
If
Pierre.
it's just someone who's videotaped a martial arts fight and they put
Yeah,
it up on the
That's true.
internet, there's
yeah,
no
well, that's true.
disclaimer on there.
But I'm not talking about that, Pierre. I'm talking about teachers who post their own videos. I'm talking about powers that be that post their own videos. I'm talking about
I
the
mean,
professional cameraman that the teachers hire that follow them
Again,
everywhere in the freaking Congress to do
this
the same
isn't
thing.
some. This is I can give you 100 martial arts videos put out by teachers where they don't put that sort of disclaimer on.
Well,
I
that's
can
their
put out.
fault.
I can
That's
put
their
out.
fault, and they could be liable to it.
Why?
well,
That's
look,
not how social media works, dude. You can put
let's put it
anything
this
you
way.
want on social media.
Let's put it
How are
this
you
way.
going to
It's not
police that? How?
you're not all right. You can't police it, but I mean, what Rodney's saying, it's not gonna hurt anyone to put that there, is it?
No, of
It
course
might.
it's not.
In
It's
fact,
not.
it
It's not gonna.
probably would make a little difference, don't you think?
It might make us. It might make a
Yeah.
difference. But this is the other thing. Some people don't even read whatever you write in the caption. They just watch the video. So it's not gonna hurt anyone. But if it becomes the norm to do that, then I don't see why not. It
All
shouldn't
right,
be
all
needed.
right, all
It
right. Let's
shouldn't
get
be
out of this
needed.
topic.
But
Okay, let's get
Okay,
out of this. Yeah.
one final thing,
Go ahead.
right?
Go ahead.
I think the biggest way that we can actually remedy this is to have more of these open conversations. The problem
I
is
agree
that
with
a
it.
lot of these topics, as Amanda Grace said, a lot of these topics are discussed behind closed doors,
Yeah,
where they can only affect a very small
agreed.
subset of people.
Yeah,
These
and
things need to be out in the open.
and I like our discussions. It's just that some of you guys, when you guys write on Facebook and discuss, you insult each other. You shouldn't do that. Uh, how do you have a healthy freaking conversation or educational conversation when you don't make sense anymore, getting mad and writing insults? Don't do that, guys. Number one, people get turned off by it, and that's why I don't read all kinds of things in that. Uh, but last topic, because we've been talking hour and a half. Okay,
Yeah.
last topic, and I have a private lessons in half hour. So teachers, rookie teachers, teachers that want to teach but are not qualified teachers, because we don't have governing bodies where we control that stuff. Anyone can be a teacher, whether they only learn the basic 1 month or they learn the basic 3 years, although they didn't have training. They made themselves qualified to teach. What's your opinion in this, Pierre?
Well, like Chong said, about an hour ago, I wrote a post about this, right? And I think it's about two things. First of all, we need to change the mentality of people who want to become teachers, right? At the moment, there are a whole generation of people who are like, oh, I've got some cool moves. I want to show them to everyone. And that's their motivation for becoming a teacher.
Yeah.
So they make a video, they put it on social media, it goes viral, they get bookings, right? So my whole thing was like, if you want to become a teacher, there is a process that you have to go through. You have to go through teaching at local clubs, building up your experience, learning how to control a class, learning how to teach before you think about becoming a guest teacher, before you think about becoming a national teacher or an international teacher. But everyone wants to go from teaching in their bedroom to teaching on the international stage within 6 months.
Would you say that a person who has never learned bachata from a formal setting, meaning or dance from a formal setting, meaning an instructor that corrects its techniques or not, and just watch on video or this online classes, and been taking these classes for years, do you think that he would be qualified to teach?
No,
Why?
because it's like I said, when you're starting out to teach, what you need is to build up your knowledge locally, working alongside experienced, knowledgeable teachers shadowing.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Bloody Alexa
Really?
doing nothing back.
Yeah, your sister doesn't agree with you,
Sorry,
Pierre.
I
Is
don't
that
know.
God? God, are you there?
Right. I just unplugged
Pierre,
Alexa. Right.
Alexa knows.
Alexa wasn't
So,
sure about that, Pierre. She
yeah, I
wasn't
know.
sure
Alexa
about
wasn't
that.
even sure about that. Right. So, yeah. So, you need to spend time like shadowing and like assisting an experienced teacher so that you can build up that knowledge of how to teach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did. I mean, when I started teaching, my wife Zoe, she was already a trained dance teacher, and I
Yeah.
taught alongside her for 2 years. I
Yeah.
barely said a word. She used to do all the talking, and that's how I learned to teach. But I already had my own teaching background because I
Yeah.
taught IT. I'd also had, I'd been coaching martial arts as
You
well.
already were trained for the
I've been
concept of
teaching
teaching.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been teaching in several subjects, and I shadowed another teacher for 2 years before I started teaching on my own,
Yeah.
right? But people aren't willing to do the work to become a teacher before they start teaching now.
Okay.
They just want to start teaching because they love bachata, they've got some cool moves, and they want to show them, and they want to spread their love and spread their joy. Yeah, that's great, but learn how to friggin' teach first.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay, Dima?
Just because you've got a great attitude doesn't mean that you're entitled to teach.
I agree. I agree with you now. Dima, what's your feeling about this?
Well, first of all, we're talking about regulations that are not going to happen anytime soon. Okay, we can talk about it until the next year, but it's not going to happen because
Yeah.
I agree with everything Pierre said. Don't get me wrong. This is
Oh,
true.
that's a change. Okay, go ahead.
No, I agree on some points, but
No,
in
me
the
and
real
Dima
world,
agree on a lot of things.
I
I
agree
know,
with
just
Pierre with
joking.
many things. But what is going to drive this industry is not somebody telling that you can be teacher or not going to be teacher, because what is driving is your popularity, your number of likes, your number of videos. This is how this whole industry is built, not on professionalism. And the martial arts is a great comparison, because tomorrow I can go to the States and open a Krav Maga studio. I was trained for 6 years in Krav Maga, but I'm not a Krav Maga teacher. My best friend
I
is
know it's required for you guys. Yeah.
it is required, but I'm not a Krav Maga teacher.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
best friend is a Krav Maga teacher. He trained in Jiu-Jitsu, he trained in boxing, he trained in
Yeah.
Taekwondo, he
Yeah.
trained in everything. But tomorrow, I'm with the title of Israeli officer of the special unit. I can open the Krav Maga, and nobody
Nice.
gonna find out,
Nice.
because there's no qualification. Well, in Krav Maga there is qualification, but in dancing, there's nobody who's saying, okay, this is a good teacher. He's not. How are you measured as a teacher? How are you measured? Because even if you suck as a teacher, they're going and you are popular, they're going to hire you for events. You're going to instruct something wrong to 300 people, and then you're going to forget about it. As long as you made your video and people are going to clap and say, "Wow, what a great experience we had." And then when they go to real fight in the real dance floor, they're going to find out in the hard way that what you thought is bullshit. So
Yeah.
there's no way of regulating that. The only way that I think is spreading information, trying to drive people to think with their mind and question everything they learn. And then some of them are gonna be your followers and your students, and they're gonna admire you.
Very good point. Yeah.
I would agree.
But in the way this industry functions, it
Hi,
drives.
Addy. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
So in the way this industry works, and the drive force of this industry is popularity, and being super technical, super professional doesn't go together, because you're going to become very boring, and you're going to have 4 students that care about basics, that are right, and you're right, but people don't come for that.
All right, quick reply up here before Chongo.
Yeah, so that was the flip side of what I was saying. So on the one side, we need to educate the new teachers as to questioning why they want to become teachers.
Yeah.
But on the other side, we need to stop rewarding the teachers without experience.
Did you
Yeah.
hear that, promoters? We gotta
Yeah.
stop rewarding inexperienced teachers.
If he's
Yeah.
gonna bring me 300 people, why do I care? As a
Chongo?
promoter.
Well, okay, yeah, I agree with everything Pierre and Dima just said about the whole topic. I'm with them 100%. But just now on that last one, because obviously I'm a promoter too. I have a party called Boss that we run every 2 weeks. And look, my it's hard when you got your own teaching artist hat on and you got the promoter hat on, because let's face it, guys, like the demand for all this crazy moves or whatever is definitely there, and that's driven through the social media. So people are being fed that already.
Yeah.
But the question is like, okay, my personal view is I got into bachata because of social dancing. I love social dancing, and I want to teach social dancing, and I wanted to create a party which is social dancing. But now with all of this stuff, as a business and as a promoter, you kind of got to meet some of the demands from everywhere. So I will be booking, international artists outside of London that perhaps have those viral videos or whatever, because
Yeah.
it's supplying a demand. It might not, I might not totally 100% agree with the videos and stuff that they produce. For example, I have my own way, but as a promoter, it's about finding the correct balance. You see what I mean? So promoters, yes, we are to blame. I am to blame too. I take some of the blame, okay? But it's about that balance. Like, it's not. Yeah, do your due diligence. Do your research into who you're booking and why you're booking them.
So I
See
have
what
a
I mean?
suggestion, because somebody wrote something important. I think what we should push is pushing the good teachers who are usually have the poor marketing, as Chong, as Daniel said,
Yeah.
to market themselves better. Okay,
Yeah.
and Rodney will agree with me. We have a really good friend who is not marketing himself, but he's one of the best teachers in the world that I think everybody should learn from.
Yeah.
So maybe we should work on that area, and
Yeah.
I will do it for essential teachers as well. But we think maybe we should push it those people who should be rewarded, who should be out there, to make them grow.
Should we have a governing body?
How?
Why?
How?
Someone tried, it just didn't work. Albert rejected that. Albert Torres, RIP, rejected that notion. Although we have that in other dances, whether it's West Coast swing or whether it's ballroom, we have that governing body, and they have syllabus, and they decide who can teach and who can't. And if do decide who can teach, they go through a tested period where they get certified and qualified. Like in martial arts, what Dima is asking, I came from martial arts before ballroom. And by the time I became brown belt, my master started guiding me to teach. You can be brown belt for freaking 6 years, and you keep teaching that and you hone your skills. By the time you become a black belt, you are eligible to teach formally without the guidance of your teacher or open up a school. Again, that's a governing body.
But again, governing bodies aren't great. I mean, Zumba has a governing body, and you can get your Zumba accreditation in one day. Doesn't mean you're a great Zumba teacher. I've got my certificate. Yay! I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, just because there's a governing body doesn't mean that you're creating good teachers. I know lots of teachers, some who have got like certificates and stuff, and they're not great teachers.
Okay,
Yeah.
last thing. As in my town, in the Bay Area, ladies and gentlemen, most of us teachers, professionals, we talk to each other. If we have a problem in the community, we chat, a private chat. And a couple of months ago, there is this young man who was taking one of our friends, our teacher, be nameless, class. So he took it for 3 months. All right. And after 3 months, the teacher saw that the person had been advertising himself as a teacher and charging even more money for beginner lessons and all of that stuff. Now, she brought it to us, and then she brought it to us, and we had different opinions. And I said, look, we don't have governing bodies. It's outside of control. Maybe you can, she suggested she would write him a letter with our approval and it be named myself and the other promoters and the other teachers. She did that. He responded, the beginner, I appreciate your correction and your concern. Come to my class and watch me teach, but I'm not going to stop teaching. How do you feel?
We have the same situation, okay? I know exactly what you're talking about. And
this is a true story, by the way.
This is, yeah, we have the same story with a local teacher who was a student for 1 year, and then he just proclaimed himself a teacher, and then he started teaching. So as long as it's a free market, basically everybody can do that. How do we address it as a community? We try to talk to him, and usually those people are have such a big self-esteem because of their ignorance, because this is the phase that everybody goes, psychological phase. When you start learning something in the beginning, you think you're a professional.
Yeah.
This is like very proven experience that Danny Kruger experience. When you start something, you believe that you're the best, and as long as you go, you're gonna understand how much you don't know.
Yeah.
So stopping somebody in that phase is nearly impossible unless you create like a comparison, competing system that's going to prove that what he's teaching is bullshit. But talking to those people usually is not going to help because they don't have this self-conscience. If they had it, they wouldn't start teaching after 3 months. Okay.
So what you're saying is, if they're still stubborn about it, you just let them.
Let them and be better.
Chongo?
Well, like we've all kind of said, we can't police it. We can't police it. The only thing you can do is the only thing we can do is control ourselves. Really.
Yeah.
We can see what's happening. I mean, Pierre can say we can try and highlight it, talking about it openly. But you're never going to be able to stop people doing whatever they want to do because there's no you're never going to be able to. So there's no point in trying to cuss them or anything. You know what I mean? To like just carry on the way we're doing it or the way we all do it because we believe we're doing everything right. I'm not saying I do, but carry on and concentrate on what we can do in the right way. Let them do what they want to do because you're not going to change them anyway.
Yeah. Pierre?
I mean, I've had this same issue in the UK. I mean, because like the stuff that I teach is fairly niche. I teach the musicality stuff. And I've had several teachers come to my class and I found out that they've been teaching the stuff that I've been teaching them elsewhere, right? So now I've got two choices. Do I go to them and try and say, don't do that? That's my bread and butter. Why are you teaching what I'm teaching? Or do I help them to teach it better? Right? My view is that if you want the standard of teaching to be raised in your scene, you have to bring everyone up with you, even the bad teachers. Right? That's the only way that you can raise the level. So there's no point saying, I'm not going to teach you something because you're going to go and sell it somewhere else. No. Right? If I can't stop you teaching, then I have to help you become better. So either you realize that you don't know what you're teaching. Sometimes they don't want the help, right?
And also, adding to that, guys. Oh, you're not finished yet. Here, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, like, you want to help educate them. So either they teach better or they realize that they don't know what they're teaching.
Yeah, I agree.
But like
100%.
but like Dima was saying, they get stuck on that Dunning-Kruger curve
Yeah.
because they don't know that they don't what they don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to get them up that hill so that they either know more or they stop teaching.
That is if they're willing to learn. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Um, it was asked earlier, it's just a matter of who teaches and whether he teaches effectively. And not just that. I could claim that I could teach effectively, I'm a great teacher, blah, blah, blah. But if my students is not saying that, and not just that, that they're not saying that I'm not a good teacher, when they dance with the dance moves, you could see that they're bad. They're bad dancers. And not just that, people will be saying, hey, who is that person who injured that? Oh, that's Rodney's student. You know, so I guess it comes down to the student being questioning everything they learn and questioning the credibility of their teachers, because the student eventually will realize, am I learning proper technique? Okay. When you find an instructor, ladies and gentlemen, the people that are watching it here, when you're looking for a teacher, make sure that his credibility, her credibility, their credibility is good. Not just that, they produce good students. And some of the students themselves become teachers, and they're good teachers, and they produce good students.
I can add something that you need to create the value for people that they're gonna appreciate that, and then they're gonna serve as your. This is something you call in marketing POV, proof of value.
Yeah.
That you created somebody who or helped somebody to grow to become what he is, and then he's going to promote you more than you do because you.
Yeah.
And this is what I think we should focus about and not try to school somebody else because I can talk about myself. Nobody said, Dima, now you're qualified to be a teacher. I'm sure I made many mistakes, but what helped me is people along the way, along the ride, that tell me I was asking a lot. I was like, man, help me become better. Tell me how to do. I was doing this question to everybody, to people who I appreciate. And this is what made me a better teacher. So we should remember that nobody qualified us to do anything. We're doing it for love. We're doing it for passion. We're trying to organize events and do things, but we always need to remember why are we doing this? Like why? What is the core of our activity to make other people happy? And this is what bachata is about, or any social dance,
Any
is
social
to
dance
make
for that matter. Yeah.
people happy. And we should remember that no matter how deep we go into this, but we should focus on that just to create joy for other people. And there are many ways.
Yeah, this is, I agree with you guys when it comes to this. And safety, of course, as you all know, is the most important thing in social dancing, regardless of which style we dance. Um, Parting words, by the way, Chongo, Pierre, Dima, thank you for the time for doing this. I know some of you are in nighttime already. And this is like afternoon for me. And
You
we
know
had
what's
some
happened? Well, do you know
we
what's
had
happened
some
while I've been
heated
having this?
we have some heated moments there, but nevertheless
No,
they're
that
great points.
while we've been having this video, my dog has literally given birth to puppies
Wow,
downstairs.
Hey,
congratulations.
Not
So
to
I'm going to go
mention,
and check on my dog now.
well, Pierre, while we were doing this podcast, a lot of weird things happen in your room, man. Alexa,
Got Alexa going off. We've got puppies going on. It's like crazy.
but anyway, good friends of mine, thank you very much. This is recorded in YouTube, so we'll post it in YouTube. I'm sure it is also posted in live Facebook, and we thank you for the audience who are making their comments there. I know I haven't read them yet, but I will read in them. If need be, I will respond to them. The same of my guest also will do that. But thank you very much. Until next time.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having us,
thank you
Rodney.
guys.
Yeah,
Thanks
always
for
a
having me
pleasure.
on.
Thank you.